Anyway, as a result of that fear, it really influences the 94 midterms, and this is what kind of ruins Clinton's career after this. The 94 Republican Revolution, as it's famously called, as a result of Clinton's unpopularity with his legislations like the gun control, the Universal Health Care Act, and the tax increases, the Republicans gained 54 seats in the House. And as a result, they get control of the House for the first time since 1952. They gained 9 seats in the Senate, getting control of the Senate for the first time since 1986. And then 10 new governorships. Again, it's the first time they controlled all 3 sectors because they gained the majority of the governorships in the states. They gained the majority of the seats in the House and the majority of the seats in the Senate. And it's the first time they control all 3 sectors for the first time since 1952, which is huge. And then even more historic, Clinton Speaker of the House, Tom Foley, he loses re-election in his district. And this is the first time that a Speaker of the House lost re-election since the Civil War. And this isn't losing re-election as the Speaker. This is meaning, like, because since you're a House member to be Speaker of the House, you're running for re-election in your district every 2 years like every other House member, and he lost to a Republican, and that a large part of that's the NRA, and they singled out Foley and were able to get a Republican to beat him. And that's just absolutely big to Clinton because he lost a lot of leadership from his administration. And then as a result, Newt Gingrich is the new Speaker of the House now that the Republicans have the majority. Had the Democrats still had the majority, there would have been a Democratic Speaker of the House even if Foley had lost. But there wasn't, so Gingrich takes over. And this is a big wake-up call to Clinton because he realized that his re-election chances are going to be in trouble if he doesn't turn around, and that's basically what he does. Since he's no longer able to pass social legislation, he's going to focus mainly on the budget and economy from this point on. And he proposed several budget deals but was unable to get any passed, and as a result, the government didn't have a budget set for 95, and then it led to the government shutdown. Clinton was able to avoid fault with this, though. He blamed it mostly on the Republicans, and that would later rub off Bob Dole and Bob Dole's bid for the presidency. And I'll get into that in a second. And then while the government was shut down, the economy was able to do a whole lot better. It was still growing, though, like it was under Clinton. And it was able to grow a whole lot. The average family of incomes was rising, and the unemployment rate was dropping. And the unemployment rate's already low at this point, and it's just getting lower. And then the average income of families is rising, which is great for the economy. So that helps Clinton out a lot. Even though he really didn't do much to help it, it's definitely going to rub off on him and do good for him in the results. So you can see the economic growth. Unemployment, and when Clinton came into office, was substantially high. There's like 10 million unemployed, and then as you can see in 96 when the election's up, it's down a whole lot. Like, it's down about 3 million people, and it drops even more when in his second term, but this is only the first term right now. And then the median income, as you can see, that's about 92 right there. It's about 46,000. It's growing too, and it grew at about 4,000 or 5,000 per people, which is again huge for just a couple years to have that kind of growth. So that's very great for Clinton. And then the 96, that brings us to the 96 election. Despite Clinton's good economy, Clinton's very beatable in this election because again he has that hate, but the Republicans kind of mess up and they run Bob Dole, who's kind of a boring candidate, and he was also the Senate Majority Leader during the government shutdown, and he's given a lot of blame towards that. So Clinton kind of portrays him as a dangerous Republican, kind of like he did with Mitt Romney. I may have my flaws. It's kind of the election where I may have my flaws, but this guy's worse, so don't vote for him. Kind of like what Obama did with Mitt Romney. He does that very well and is able to hurt Dole because of that. And then also Ross Perot's in the race again, and he's taken votes away from Dole. Even if Dole had gotten all of Perot's votes, Clinton still would have won, but it would have been again a lot closer election, and it helped Clinton win it a whole lot easier. But Clinton's able to capitalize on the good economy though, and then Dole's hate, so it helps him out a lot. And then even though he was vulnerable, he's able to win re-election, and we'll show you why. As you can see, Clinton only loses 3 states, Montana, Colorado, and Georgia, but he's able to pick up Florida and Arizona, and so he's able to still win the election with no problem. And he actually gains 9 electoral votes for a total of 379 electoral votes. And Bob Dole just basically reinforces the Republican tradition with the Midwest and the South states. He wins those back. He wins Georgia back, but he loses Florida, so he's not able to keep any of the other southern states that Republicans normally win. And so he doesn't do very well at all. And So as a result, Clinton's the first Democrat since FDR to win re-election, and the first to win Arizona since Harry Truman in '48, and he's also the last Democrat to win it as of present times. And again, winning Arizona is very huge for Democrats because that's one of the only states. That's the only state that stayed Republican between the elections of Jimmy Carter and Lyndon B. Johnson. And so that's kind of huge that Clinton wins that. But the Democrats don't hold it afterwards. Bush takes it back, so it's not a big deal. But it's kind of an interesting fact that he's able to win it. And despite Clinton's impressive victory, the Republicans are still able to keep control of Congress. They actually gain 2 seats in the Senate. They lose a couple seats in the House, but not very much. They still retain control of it. And so this again means that Clinton's not going to be able to do anything for his second term because the Republicans hold Congress for both of the midterms. So they hold it for the rest of his second term. And so what Clinton does is, now that the economy's doing real well, he can try to fix the budget now. He's going to make $160 billion in cuts total in federal spending. And since the economy is doing so well at the time, it doesn't really affect the economy at all because it doesn't really need the money at the moment because it's doing so well on its own. And then this helps balance the budget, and it stays balanced for the next 4 years. And and it also adds a surplus. And this is the first time that there's a government surplus in over 30 years. Like, you have to go back to JFK time to find one. Ever since the Vietnam War started, there wasn't ever a surplus being put out. So that's kind of interesting. And then this is where it gets bad, the Lewinsky scandal. In 1998, Clinton was accused of having sexual relations with a 22-year-old named Monica Lewinsky. And even though Clinton denied most of the allegations, it led to his impeachment trials. And then in 1998, he was actually impeached by the House, by the majority of the House, which was majority controlled by the Republicans. So no surprise that he'll be impeached since he's hated by the Republicans. But then when it goes to the Senate, in order to be fully impeached, you have to be impeached by 2/3 of the Senate, which there's not enough Republicans to impeach him, and so he doesn't get impeached. But he however goes down in history as one of the only 2 presidents that it ever happened to. The only other one that happened to was Andrew Johnson, Lincoln's vice president turned president. The reason it didn't happen to Richard Nixon was because he actually resigned before the impeachment trials would have started, but he would have no doubt been impeached by both the House and the Senate had he not resigned. But anyway, so it's kind of interesting that he's only one of only 2 presidents that it happened to, but he's still able to keep his job because the Senate found him innocent. And then his legacy, he was succeeded by George Bush on January 20th after his term ended. His impeachment's overlooked by most because of the great economy he built and how much he changed the Democratic Party. Like, he's a very respected Democrat under the party, and then he's very respected under a lot of Republicans because he's a moderate Democrat, and he really helped the economy. So, again, not a big deal that he was impeached in the eyes of most people. And that's about it. Later.